Mom, can you see me? Someone say something. Yes, okay. Hey John, hey Mom, hey guys. LOL, I'm nervous. Hey. Mom, I can hear you laughing. Okay, we're just gonna go. Okay, wash your hands. Okay. Comment if you are making them with me. How do I, this is so, I don't know what I'm doing. Perfect CCCs. How do you pin things? Is that possible? Oh, whatever. I don't know what I'm doing. Okay. So, okay, oh my gosh, so many people are making them. Hey Jillian, how's Princess Diaries 2? Such a classic. Okay. So, like I said, we're just gonna jump into it. Okay, let's start. So, 2 glass bowls. You do not need your electric mixer. That was kind of like the idea when I first made this recipe, was that you didn't have to have a stand mixer or a lot of like fancy steps. I've kind of added in some fancy things, but for the most part, you just need glass bowls, wooden spoon, basic things that most people have in their kitchen. This is my Perfect CCCs updated recipe on my blog. It's the one that has olive oil in it. The original one just uses all butter. So first step is with the butter. Actually, first step's turning on the oven. 350. My parents' oven cooks a little low, so we have to turn it up a little bit. Also, I'm quarantining with my parents. Anyone else? And I'm wearing all my mother's clothes because I was only supposed to be here for a weekend. Okay, so wet ingredients are gonna go in your bigger bowl. I'm using Kerrygold butter. It's super great. It's unsalted. You wanna use unsalted for typically all baking recipes. This is 1/2 cup, 8 tablespoons. I'm gonna put it directly into the glass bowl I'm using. If you're not using a glass bowl, like a plastic bowl, you'll wanna use a microwave safe bowl to melt your butter. So into my big bowl, into the microwave. We'll start at 30 seconds. Okay, while that's going, we're gonna measure out our olive oil. Need to get the liquid measuring cup. I'm using just this olive oil from Trader Joe's. I think we're about out, so I'm gonna have to use another one. 1/2 cup. This is the key in the cookies. In most cookies, you just use softened butter, but I found that the melted butter and the olive oil makes for a really good cookie. Oh my gosh, this is so slow. Oh, okay, 1/2 cup. Check on our butter. Not melted yet, so we're gonna go 30 more seconds. Oh my gosh, I love this. There's so many of you. Oh my gosh. Hi, Carly. Hi, Jordan. Hi, Hannah. Hannah times 2. Should have melted the butter before this. Ah. Okay. So melted butter, that kind of exploded in the microwave. Half a cup of olive oil. And then into here, we're gonna directly add our sugar. So we're gonna do half a cup of white granulated sugar. And then 1.5 cup of brown sugar. If you guys saw my post yesterday, I started making these yesterday morning. And then realized we didn't have any brown sugar. And one of my parents' neighbors, who is one of my friends too, lives up the street, and she's like, I have some, come get it. But then I needed some for today, so I had to steal this from my sister. And we're unsure if there's 1.5 cup, but we're gonna find out. 1.5 packed brown sugar, light or dark, it doesn't really matter. Dark has more molasses in it, so it'll make your cookie a little bit darker, which is great. Kathleen, what is this? Is this light or dark? John, can you answer for her? Abby said wait. What's up, Abby? How much white and brown sugar? 1/2 cup of white sugar, 1.5 of brown sugar. Hi, Connor. We're gonna be maybe right at it. Ooh. Okay, you're not supposed to do this when you're baking. You're supposed to measure exactly, but that looks like 1/2 cup, so we're just gonna put it all in there. Running a little low. Okay, so we've got our wet ingredients and our sugars. We're gonna whisk those together, literally with a whisk. Hi, Carrie. Okay, now we're gonna add our eggs to here. 2 eggs. I know that eggs are kind of running short in the grocery store, so I hope you have some. This goes in. Yes, Madison, screen recording. Okay, and then the best part, vanilla. I typically double, sometimes triple vanilla in every recipe, so this has a full tablespoon. Most chocolate chip cookie recipes call for like 1 teaspoon, 1.5. We're going to tablespoon. Whisk in the vanilla. Smells so good. Also, you can see I have my bowls sitting on a towel. These bowls kind of, they just like move around and make a noise that I can't stand, so I put it on a towel to keep it here. Sydney, what's up? Did you already do wet and dry together? No, we've just done wet. So we just have butter, oil, white sugar, brown sugar. In baking, sugars count as wet ingredients because they dissolve. And then eggs and vanilla. Wet ingredients are done. Moving this aside. Into your little bit smaller bowl, we're gonna do our dry ingredients. So, like I mentioned earlier, the store was out of all-purpose flour. So I got this bag of gluten-free flour. I have a recipe of these cookies that are gluten-free and dairy-free. And so that's kind of where I first started making them with gluten-free flour. But gluten-free flour typically, and like I said, gluten-free, not like almond, or not almond. Yeah, like almond flour or cassava flour, oat flour, or other kinds of alternative flours. That's not what I'm calling for. Strictly gluten-free flour. They typically make it to be 1-to-1, meaning it's interchangeable with all-purpose flour in any recipe, and it works just fine. So while these aren't dairy-free, you just saw that butter go in there, they are gonna be gluten-free. So we're doing 3 1/4 cups of flour. Reagan, I don't know if she's watching, a friend texted me last night and she was like, what's going on? My cookies are so dry and crumbly. And we walked through the recipe. We were going through everything. She was like, I followed it to a T. Turns out the house that she's staying in has 1.5 cup measures. And so she put about double the amount of flour in there. So we improvised. Reagan, if you're watching, let me know how they end up turning out. Okay, so 3¼ cup flour. Set those aside. Then yesterday, when I was making these, my friend Betsy was like, I'm honestly still shocked that you have to look at your recipe when you make the cookies. Betsy, I'm not looking at my recipe right now. I know it by heart. But Abby, 3¼ cups flour. But I always get confused on the baking powder, baking soda, and salt measurements. So I typically have to look at it, but I memorized it yesterday. Heavy on the salt, so 1.5 teaspoons of salt. These are a salty cookie, and that's why they're so good. Hi, Alyssa. 1.5. 1¼ teaspoon of baking powder. And if this is wrong, someone tell me if you're looking at the recipe. Hi, Mallory. Oh my gosh. You just made some. How'd they turn out? And then 1 teaspoon of baking soda. Okay. Just want to mix that together. I don't sift anything. You don't need to sift things for cookies. Just want to make sure that you get the baking soda, baking powder, and salt all mixed in. Okay. Now we have our dry ingredients, wet ingredients we're going to combine. Don't need the whisk anymore. Okay, so going to start adding our flour. Add it in like 3 batches, maybe 2 batches. And then again, I use a wooden spoon. You can also use one of these things. Rachel Ray calls it a spoonula, which I kind of hate, but it also makes sense because it's a spatula, but it's a spoon. But no electric hand mixers. That's just going to crumble the dough. Since it has that whisk attachment, I've found that a wooden spoon or that kind of spatula combines it together. Dana, how much salt? 1.5 teaspoons of salt. 1.5 teaspoons of salt, 1¼ teaspoons baking powder, 1 teaspoon baking soda. Okay. It's also, quarantine, not working out as much. A little arm workout. Okay. Last of the flour. Hi, Diana. Diana is my lovely parents, neighbor, and friend who saved me with brown sugar. So I had to send her some cookies yesterday. Oh gosh. This one arm is going to be huge. Okay, I am going to go in with this spatula to get the flour off. Make sure you scrape the bottom. Hi, Lauren. Okay, also, I kind of leave it like this. Can you see that it's still sort of floury? I just leave it kind of not completely mixed before I add the chocolate chips. There's not like really a method to that madness. It's just sort of what I do. Okay. Now for the most important step that I feel that people skip a lot, and I feel passionately that this is a step that you cannot skip. So I'm glad that we're doing this live so I can let everyone know. You have to chop your chocolate chips. It's what gets those little chocolate flakes in there and just makes like the prettiest cookie. And so you just have to do it. I use a mixture of a Hershey's bar or a milk chocolate bar and chocolate chips, 10 ounces of chocolate chips, and then a Hershey's bar. Don't have a Hershey's bar. I have this little baby thing from Trader Joe's, so we're going to improvise. So I'm going to do, since this is so small, I'm going to do 12 ounces of chocolate chips, which is 2 cups. This is a big bag, so it's 24 ounces. A normal standard like chocolate chip bag is 12 ounces. Also 2 cups. These have lots of chocolate chips in them. This makes them so good. I also showered and put on makeup for this, so this is a great reason to be doing this because the showers are few and far between. Hey Bets, hey Liv. Hi Evan. Okay, chopping, roughly chop. Wish we could do a time lapse right now. Again, I hate that noise of the cutting board, so put it on that towel if you have one out. Hi SB. This is basically just a hangout for all my friends. Hi Alex. Okay, any other questions from people who are making them right now? We good? Just go back and forth. Obviously, we're not trying to completely chop these, but a little bit. You want to get that chocolate bar chopped up too. And the milk chocolate bar, I just like because semi-sweet chocolate chips are made in a factory to have stabilizers in them. So after you bake them and they get warm and a little bit melty, they kind of come back together. They don't fully melt and lose their shape. Milk chocolate melts and can kind of lose its shape, so it creates those petals of chocolate on the top, which I love. Okay, and see like all these little, can you see that little flakes on the knife? That's what gets into the cookie and gets distributed, so then there's chocolate everywhere. Okay, I'm gonna put almost all of this into the batter. You'll see I'll reserve just a little bit. Not the batter, the dough. You know what's up. Abby, just realized I only have white chocolate chips. Hey, that sounds great. I love white chocolate. A lot of people discriminate. I love it. I'd say go for it. Maybe if you have like some nuts too, you could put them in there. Okay, I'm gonna leave like this much chocolate just if I need to add a little bit more to the tops of the cookie, which you'll see. Okay, I'm gonna set that aside. Back to this. What if I accidentally bought milk chocolate chips instead of semi-sweet? That'll be fine. It's just a little bit of different taste. I love milk chocolate. Carrie, I use tiny chips plus normal size chips. Love that. I would still chop them a little bit. Can we add any other kind of goodies in them? Cocoa, peanut butter cups, totally. I'm allergic to peanut butter, but Madison, if you're still watching, she made them with peanut butter in them. Madison, if you're watching, how much peanut butter did you put in there? But you could, I've made these with M&Ms. I put sprinkles in them a lot, like with the addition of the chocolate, but I'll do colored sprinkles for holidays, which is fun. Like with Easter coming up, you could do Easter colored M&Ms with white chocolate chips. That'd be fun. You could even kind of chop up the Easter colored M&Ms. Okay, so the dough will look a little bit oily because we have all that oil and melted butter in there. So I kind of just mix it and sort of press the chocolate chips into there to help get all the chocolate distributed. Okay, now I'm mixing in dark chocolate chunks. Excellent. I have a question. Would you ever box and ship your Perfect CCCs? We'll see. Okay. Baking. Need a cookie sheet. Try not to use a cookie sheet with raised edges like this, like a roasting pan. When you're making cookies, that's creating space that the heat can't get into, and so it'll affect the cooking. So use like a cookie sheet, flat. I also normally always line them with like a silicone liner or parchment paper, but we don't have any right now, so we're just gonna use some Pam. Yeah, love the sprinkles idea. Oh yeah, sprinkles are fun. If we had some, I'd stick them in there. I don't think we do. Okay, then I use a cookie scoop. If you have a cookie scoop, I suggest using this. Otherwise, I would do about 2 tablespoon size. I'll do one with both. My mom's cookie scoop is oh my God, I pinched my finger. Sorry. Is a little bit bigger. I think this is like a 3 tablespoon scoop. And I think the one I have at home is maybe a 2 tablespoon or 2.5, which that one I kind of overload a little bit. This one, y'all are so much better at mixing dough than I am. Hi, Fee. Since this one's kind of big, I scrape the dough all the way up against the bowl so that it's not too overstuffed, if that makes sense. I'll show you, go put that. If you're using a tablespoon, I would do like this and mound it. So it ends up being similar size, like golf ball size, okay? So everyone scoop your dough and BRB. Also, I do 12 on a cookie sheet. Fits perfectly if it's a normal size cookie sheet. Any other questions? I usually eat half the dough, then my tummy hurts. I had a lot of people actually be like, okay, how did you make those without eating any dough? I make these all the time, and I eat a lot of dough, but also it was 7 in the morning, and like, I wasn't quite craving cookie dough. But when you make them all the time, yes, I still think they're amazing. Like, I just don't crave the dough. But to prove a point, again, I wash my hands. I wanted to give away some to people who are local in Oklahoma City, but I'm like just getting kind of sketched out about coronavirus, and I don't really want to share any food. My cookie sheets are very loved, says my mother. Madison, I did 3 spoonfuls of peanut butter, added a splash of vanilla, microwaved it for 30 seconds, and then added in them with chocolate chips. Wow, that sounds amazing. Hi, Aunt Dana, what's up? Okay, so I have 12 on a cookie sheet. This is a very important step and something that I can notice when people tag. I call it the fluffing stage. And it's what you do to get a cookie that's just a little more rustic on top. Like that, like just not perfect. Like right now, this is scooped perfectly. And whenever I bake it, it'll come out perfect. I like to be a little bit more rustic, like I said. So, with clean hands. Cindy, if I'm using mini Hershey's bars, how many should I chop up with my 10 ounces of chips? I would say like 5. Stacia, I'm drilling. Okay, so fluffing stage. So I kind of just pinch them. Can you guys see this? This is like sort of weird, but you just sort of fluff it to where then lots more chocolate chips are exposed. But then again, okay, so like this ball of dough, there's barely any chocolate chips, but there's kind of like this little opening. So then I'm gonna fluff it like that, and then I can always add some more chocolate chips on top. That's why we reserve some, because you want all the chocolate on top. So I'm gonna continue to fluff these. I'm gonna make 12 right now and put them in the oven. This recipe makes, typically for me, it makes like exactly 32 to 33. So it's typically I'll bake like 2 cookie sheets at a time, and then have just like one small cookie sheet to finish up. I'm gonna show you guys how I prep them for the freezer with this leftover dough. I think that's good for right now too. And like there's just me and my mom and my dad here, so we don't need 32 cookies lying around. So I'm gonna put some in the freezer and then we can pull some out of the freezer later. So I'm just adding some more chocolate chips so that all the cookies have lots of chocolate chips on them. Then I'm gonna wash my hands really quick. I don't want to stick my dirty hands or just my hands into the thing of salt. Okay, now here comes the good stuff. Sarah Beth, have you ever made a pizooka recipe? No, should definitely try. We're gonna do that. Keep you posted. Okay, Maldon salt, finishing touch, have to do this. If you can't find Maldon salt, any kind of flaky salt, table salt will not work in replacement. Kosher salt, I think could be fine. Like thick kosher salt like this, if you can tell, is like a little grainier. If you can maybe like kind of like smash it to make it flaky, I think that would help. Otherwise, I might just go without. I think just using table salt on top would be kind of weird. But Maldon salt you can get on Amazon, Whole Foods, Sprouts. I heard Uptown Grocery, if you're in Oklahoma City, does not have it. Trader Joe's does not have it. Central Market does if you're in Dallas. Target does, I'm pretty sure. I do a decent amount on top of every cookie. This is my absolute favorite part. It's just like such a good balance with the sweetness. And I use Maldon salt on everything. I always put Maldon salt on my avocado toast, on my salad, really like on top of everything. Flaky salt is to be kind of like a finishing salt, so not something you actually cook or bake with, but just sort of what you put on top, like really good on scrambled eggs. And it's not expensive. It takes me a long time, even with making cookies all the time, it takes me a long time to go through a box. I have it in a little thing like on my stovetop. Okay, so cookies are salted. Yeah. How many can I eat in one day during quarantine? You know, everyone's different. I think I probably had like 4 in a day. I think I could do better and still be living. But hey, report back with how many you eat, David. I want to know. Mr. Miller asking the word. There are no rules during quarantine. I repeat, table salt is not a replacement. Madison, are you speaking from experience? Maybe. Yeah, not a replacement. Table salt goes in the cookies. Maldon salt goes on top. Otherwise, I would leave it off. Okay, these bake for exactly 9 minutes. Not a minute more, 9 minutes. So here we go. Okay, I'm setting my timer for 4.5 minutes because I'm gonna go in and rotate the pan at 4.5. If I had 2 cookie sheets in there at 4.5 minutes, I would rotate the sheets. Okay, let's talk about the freezer. So what I do for that, scoop out all the dough onto a cookie sheet. If you have a parchment paper lined one, I would do that. I went ahead and greased this one because when I put this in the freezer, I want to be able to get the cookie dough off when I take it out. And if I just put it on a cookie sheet, the cookie sheet would get super cold and I wouldn't be able to get the cookie dough off. So anytime you want to make the cookies and freeze the dough, don't freeze the dough solid. Freeze it, hi Stormy, freeze it in the balls of dough. It would just become too like hard of a mass and too hard to thaw out if you put just the whole bowl of dough or like put it in a Tupperware and then put it in the freezer. So I go ahead and scoop all the dough. Oops, I had 10 years. You're fine. Unfortunately. Okay. If you're baking with me, how's it going? Questions? Do you have your cookies in the oven? Anyone else putting them in the freezer? Are we making all of them? No judgment there. Anything else that we should bake in quarantine? It's kind of hard when you like, can't go to the grocery store that often. Maybe we can just like do a chopped competition live with like things in the pantry and make some cookies out of it. I'm into it. Maddie made them with table salt. Oh, Bailey, throwing shade. Maddie, I'm sure they were fine. Yeah, so I guess consensus is don't ever put table salt on top of your cookies, just nix it and they'll still be great. But also just PSA, everyone just needs to go and buy Maldon salt because I promise you're gonna use it all the time. Again, it's like $5 or $6 for this whole thing. Not bad. Okay, so let's think. I had 12 in there. I have 1, 2, 3, 18, 19, 20. Oh my gosh, I cannot do math. Is that right? 18, 20. Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, so we're like at exactly 32. We might get 34 out of this batch if we're lucky. More good freezer. Okay, fluffing stage is still important before you put them in the freezer because when you pull them out to bake, whether it be tomorrow, end of the week, or in 2 months, I would say they probably last like 3 months in the freezer before they might get freezer burn. So maybe just put them in a Ziploc baggie with a date on them. But when you pull them out, whenever that may be, it's gonna be hard. They're gonna be so cold, it'll be hard to kind of do the fluffing stage. So do that now. Show me how to make dinner. I don't, okay, wait. Let's see. 1 batch in the oven, rest in the freezer. Love it. Dinner would be nice. I haven't even mixed the wet and dry ingredients. Come on, Betsy, get it together. How can I help? Show me how to make dinner. Yes, chopped competition. I'm kind of into this chopped idea. Mom, Dad, if you're still watching, let's get on this. My parents are literally sitting in the living room while I'm in the kitchen. Let's just think about that. Ellie, miss you. I hope this isn't gross to you guys that I'm just like going in with my hands. Again, you saw me wash my hands twice now. Can we start by saying that I am the farthest from a germaphobe and coronavirus changed me. I have my indoor and outdoor clothes. Shoes at the door. I can't handle it. And I have the driest skin all the time, so you can imagine the hand washing. My hands are bleeding. Okay. Adding chocolate chips. I don't add salt whenever I'm putting them in the freezer, but I do add all that extra chocolate chips. Okay, so this whole cookie sheet is gonna go in the freezer probably for 30 minutes. Our freezer's really full. Okay, so those are currently freezing on top of some frozen shrimp and ground beef. So I'll put those in the freezer for 30 minutes. Oh, shiz. Timer went off. Okay, flipped it. 4 more minutes, 9 minutes total. Sorry. Anyways, putting them in the freezer for 30 minutes on the cookie sheet. Then I'll take them out, take them off the cookie sheet. I'll put it in a big plastic baggie. And then, or in like a Tupperware container, put all the balls of dough in there and then put it back in the freezer. So you want to freeze the balls of dough first, then put them into whatever container and then back in the freezer. One time I was just in a rush and scooped it and I put them all in a baggie and then put them in there. And when I brought them out like a week later, whenever I was making them, or maybe it was a month, I don't know, they were all like clumped on each other. It was no good. Okay, let's see some questions. Sydney, if the dough seems a tiny dry, should I add something or wing it? Is it crumbly or just dry? maybe giving me some more info. You could maybe add just like a drizzle of olive oil because it shouldn't really be dry. If you want to text me a picture, you can, and I'll assess. While we're here, I'm so good. Time to rotate. Yes. Okay, back to frozen cookies. So again, yeah, I think they can last up there in the freezer for like 3 months. And then when it's time to bake, pull them out, put the frozen balls of dough on a cookie sheet, and let them sit on the cookie sheet and come to room temperature for like 30 minutes to an hour. And then you can bake them normally from there. Sprinkle them with salt and then bake them. I always do the salt before I bake, because if you don't salt them and pull them out of the oven and then add the salt, it's not gonna stick to the dough. Do you like the cookies or the cookie dough better? I like the cookies. The dough is super good, but the cookies just are so good. You know what's also funny is like, I was not really ever, I used to not be a huge chocolate person. I was like a major fruit person or sugar cookie or shortbread cookie kind of person. And then when I was in between jobs 4 years ago, I like just set off on this quest to find a chocolate chip cookie. And I don't know why I chose chocolate chip cookies. I mean, it's like basic dessert, but now chocolate chip cookies are my favorite dessert. I love them. Actually, you can't beat a chocolate chip cookie. Obviously, I think mine are the best, but I've totally morphed into a chocolate chip cookie person. Love them. Last night, my dad and I had one after dinner. When I baked them in the morning, and they were like not warm anymore, stuck in the microwave for 15 seconds. Perfect. Also, last week I had friends over, and they were like, do you have anything sweet? And I had some baked cookies in the freezer. Sometimes I'll do that too. If I have a bunch of baked ones, I'll put those in a Tupperware and in the freezer. Same thing, can last for 3 months. Just pull them out, put it in the microwave for like 20 seconds. Totally fine. Okay, Sydney, I'm assessing your cookies. It doesn't look too dry to me. It is kind of crumbly. Honestly, okay, I can see, not to call you out, I can see your hand mixer in the background of this picture that you sent me. I tried to never use a hand mixer because, I'll show you what I'm talking about. This guy with the whisk attachment. So this is essentially a whisk. So you're whisking the dough. So you know how I like whisked the wet ingredients and then I added in the dry and used the wooden spoon? That's because you want like a paddle to be combining it. This is essentially just breaking up all the dough into little crumbs. So Sydney texted me this photo, that's why I'm assessing this. I would use your wooden spoon and go in and try to kind of combine the dough to make it less crumbly, if that helps. Okay, cookies are done. Little smash. Again, 9 minutes, not a minute more. I think these went a little bit over because they're a little brown, but they're still gonna be great. Hi, can you flip this? Oh, wow. There they are, folks. There they are. Also, I like them kind of doughy, so I pull them off the cookie sheet pretty quickly because they're gonna keep cooking while they're on a hot cookie sheet. So maybe wait a minute, like sometimes not even a minute, and I go ahead and put them on a rack. And then this way, they're like just perfectly crispy, like just slightly crispy on the outside, and then perfect on the inside. And I think they're great at room temperature. I think they're great hot. Love them with a glass of milk. And that took what? What time is it? Okay, so a little longer than 20 minutes. Is it really 1:40? What is happening? But they really don't take that long to make from start to finish. And then you just have those 2 bowls to clean. You can just stick them in the dishwasher. And you are good to go. I'll show you the finished one. There you have it, folks. Thanks, Aunt Dana. Thanks, guys. Sydney's in trouble. How many cookies is in 1 serving? 1 pound of cookie or serving. Okay, so that's it. If you made them with me, take a picture, post on your story. Wow, this is really hot. And tag me your finished cookies. I'm gonna eat one of these and then go back to quarantining. If you have any questions, I'll stay on for a little bit and can answer them, or you can DM me. Otherwise, we're done. You want to know if you have a drive-through. Yeah, porch drop-offs if you want to come get them from me. I've got 12 cookies ready for you. Thanks, guys. Bye.